Hi there, my name is Peter Hartman.
I'm Samantha Barley.
And you're watching The Appreciationist. Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Great.
Doing fine.
We got a really fun show here tonight. We're going to be talking about designing the self, specifically awareness. And I want to say a quick hello to our friends Luke and Heather who joined us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, my friend.
There was some technical difficulties last week, but I'm so glad that you were able to come on here today. Just keep in mind that sometimes as we speak, we hear echo and things like that. So you might find yourself on mute. We can put you on mute, but we can't take you off mute. So just keep in mind, sometimes it happens to all of us. We end up speaking and we're silent on the screen. So just keep that in mind. But we're going to have a really fun time. But first, I have to let you know what I learned this week in our first segment, what I learned this week. Well, I learned something interesting this week. It's not as profound as other weeks. I learned how not to make hollandaise sauce. It was don't put too much lemon. I'll just leave it that way. How not to make hollandaise sauce. But it was actually interesting to learn how easy it was to make. It's something that I find special, a special treat when I go out to brunch, when Sam and I go out to brunch. And I just got a hankering. I said, let me just try my hand at making it. And looking up the recipe, it seemed pretty simple. It is pretty simple. So I'm looking forward to making that at home because
properly, right? You look forward to making that properly.
Properly, yeah, properly, because it was a disaster. But trying to fix it with mayo and whipping cream, and it was just a disaster. But it was fun to make that mistake, and that's kind of the point of what I want to let you know. You know, we try new things; it doesn't always work out well, but it's fun to make mistakes. Doesn't taste good, but it's fun. I also learned something pretty interesting here. Just wanted to add to it. I was watching this show, this program on Netflix. It's a interview show. It's called Off Camera with Sam Jones. And the episode I was watching with Matt Damon. And I got to learn a bit about Matt Damon coming up. And I had always heard that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who are thick as thieves, were sort of overnight successes, you know, but it turns out they were in the business for 10 years before anybody even heard their name, struggling, taking the bus to Hollywood, and they couldn't find any way to move forward. They were competing with all kinds of other people. They were unknowns. They were not special in any way, and they just decided to write themselves jobs. They wrote Good Will Hunting, and that's what put them on the map. They just wrote their own acting jobs. And when I think about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, when I think about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and these shows of people who just sort of didn't wait for permission, they just sort of chose themselves and they made it for themselves, I always find it very inspiring. So I didn't know that Matt and them were doing it for 10 years before they came on the scene. So that was really surprising to learn. So that's something else that I learned this week. You guys, the most important segment of the show is called A Moment of Appreciation. And that's where we look back at the past 7 days and we pick out something that we appreciate. It could be something good that happened that's easy to appreciate, or it could be something that wasn't so great, but that we can see the value in today. Anybody have a moment of appreciation they'd like to share?
I do.
Please.
Yeah, so it's been ongoing moments of appreciation. It started with something that was not a good thing, was that my mom had an accident and she was in the hospital. So she had a lot of complications and things. It was just happened before Christmas. And so there were a lot of bad things that happened, but within the bad thing that happened, a lot of good things happened. A few of them, you know, family coming together, other, you know, non-specific things that I won't really talk about. But the one thing that struck me recently was I went down to see her this weekend, and I've been trying to make her this painting for 2 years. She had a photo of her special place at the cottage that she wanted me to paint. And I've been trying for 2 years, tried in watercolor, tried all different ways to paint this image. And I couldn't do it, but because she's not well, and I was like so motivated to have this piece for her, to give her peace and happiness, that I found a book. It was the right book that I needed to get me going with the right kind of colors and technique, and I created this image for her, and it was perfect, and I was so happy and grateful, and I brought it to her, and she loved it. And it might not have happened had this accident not happened. You know, it might have just floated away, the idea, and never got around to it. But so within the bad thing, there was something really beautiful.
I really like that. That's really cool. Isn't it weird how that happens? Sort of the negative things in our experiences can be catalysts, or can often be catalysts for change, positive change, for creativity, for that sort of process that we get into. That's good. I really like that. That's really nice. Thank you so much for sharing that moment of appreciation with us, Heather. Very nice. Anybody else have a moment of appreciation they'd like to share? Luke?
Yeah, well, I can tell about this weekend's design yourself there at the lab that where we went there. It was interesting and quite fun, and I met a few new people also. So I very appreciated that night.
That was very fun. Yeah, thank you so much for coming out to that. We did a designing the self awareness, perspective, acceptance, and willpower, and man, did we have a blast, and all the laughter that we had. It was a heartwarming experience. The whole team was there, and it was really good to have you. I'm glad that was one of your moments of appreciation. That feels really good to hear that.
No problem.
Thanks for sharing that, Luke. How about you, Sam? You got one for us?
So it's the same thing. Yeah, the event was a lot of fun. So it was our first. Woo! Okay. Yeah, so it was the first time that the whole team was together answering questions. Tom was there, Val, Elvira, myself, and Peter, and it went super smooth, and the topic was so interesting, all the different topics, and I felt like people were really intrigued and engaged, asking questions. I felt on fire. I felt confident. I felt happy. I was really enjoying the whole ambiance. Even the new space that we're using was set up beautifully. Peter did that. So just the whole thing was great. I sold food. Well, we sold food. There was different food brought by other people, but I sold my energy balls that I talk about all the time, these super healthy, delicious, sweet energy balls. So people like them. They asked for recipes and stuff. So that was super fun. Yeah, just a really good time. And so because it went so well, we're going to do it again, I think in a month or so, do another one, new topic. And yep, really good.
It was great. Of course, I share that moment of appreciation. Just before I dive into mine, I want to say hello to our friend who joined the room here. I see you as Internet, so I'll call you Internet. Hi, thank you for joining us. Just keep in mind that if your speakers are on, we can hear the sound, so just keep that in mind when we're on the show. But thank you so much for joining the show here today. My moment of appreciation, definitely designing the self. You know what? As much as I appreciated the people who showed up there, Samantha, Barley, Valerie, Soule, and Elvira Limzanova did just a fantastic job. And then I had my brother Tom Hartman, who was hosting, so he did a fabulous job too. It was great. It was great. It was inspiring. A lot of fun. I gotta tell you. In the vein of things not good, inspiring good things, 750,000 women marched. I don't want to say against Trump, but certainly inspired by Trump. And I am seeing something radical happening in the United States right now, looking at politics, and even around the world. It's surprising how far it goes, about people rallying together, realizing that you can't just rely on the political system in order to affect change, that you have to get out there, you have to be engaged, you have to communicate, you have to come together, and you have to work together. And if there's one good thing that came out of Trump going to power, is that people are engaged, they are alive, they are awake. And I spent just the past 10 years wishing that people were awake for more positive reasons, but here we are. So thank you so much for that, world. You're giving me something really fantastic. I just want to say hello to our friend here. Let's see if his mic, you're going to have to unmute yourself, sir. We can mute you, we can't unmute you. I just want to say a quick hello before we move on here.
I invited someone. It might be him.
Good.
Hello, how you doing?
Well, yourself?
No, I'm just extra Jehovah's Witness troll.
Say that again?
Extra Jehovah's Witness troll.
Extra Jehovah's Witness troll. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you guys talk about religion on this channel, or no freedom of speech?
Well, we talk right now. We're talking about designing the self and awareness, so we're gonna stick to that subject. But I really appreciate you coming on here. Thank you very much, Internet. All right, so our topic today is designing self. This is actually one aspect of what we talked about at the meeting yesterday. Isn't it so fun to have a troll? It's the internet. It's wonderful.
I wasn't sure what he was saying, but yeah.
This is internet troll, Jehovah's Witness. Look, I love religion. I grew up with religion. I'm very happy. It's the word troll that got me there. But Sam knows me well enough to know that I'm tickled inside right now. But talking about awareness, we had a fun time talking about awareness. It was actually very interesting. It was one of the most, the longest sticking points that we had when we were talking, right, Sam? People really wanted to talk about that because, and it really is important, unless you become aware of what's going on, aware of how you're feeling and how you're thinking. I mean, how can we move forward, right? And so we were talking about sort of practical ways for awareness. And I just wanted to ask you, you guys and gals, when it comes to developing awareness, when you want to become more aware of something, you know, what do you do? I know I used to tie a string or a rubber band around my 2 fingers, okay? Not just 1 finger, my 2 fingers, so that I am uncomfortable all day long. And it wouldn't take me long to sort of keep something in mind. When I'm typing and I can't really type with my fingers tied, it's something as simple as a rubber band around my finger. But when it comes to you and you want to remember something, you want to keep something in your awareness, what do? Do you write on your bathroom mirror? Do you write a song about it? Do you paint a picture maybe? I don't know.
I actually write notes in my iPod now. And I realized that the notes that I look at the most are the ones I write because I write comics. So I'm always looking at my little list of notes about comics. So if I have something I really have to remember, I put it at the top of that list, knowing that I'm going to check it all the time. And it works. It totally works.
That is actually a very good, and so lists are very powerful. People who take the lists, they know the power of lists. And yeah, putting it on that top thing, especially on, it's a list about something else, but you're putting it there. I'll do that with groceries or something, and I'll put remember to be kind, you know, before cheese, you know. So that's a really cool tip. How about you, Sam? Do you have any ways for keeping aware of things, keeping things in your consciousness?
So I mentioned it at the event, and I think I've mentioned it in all my group life coaching, my awareness bell that goes ding sporadically throughout the day, and it says, take a breath and be mindful. And when I put that on, my intention is to just be a little bit more in the present moment, less racing thoughts or thinking about tomorrow or yesterday or what happened. Just taking a moment to really be here, be now, breathe. And it's something that I'm practicing more and more, mindfulness. You know, trying to be a little less stressed, or you know, yeah, just calming myself down, and it's working. So I plan to do that even more. It's really helpful. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one right now. Other than that, I've started putting sticky notes on things in my house to remind me of certain things that I want to do. Like Peter told me, so I make a huge mess in the kitchen when I cook and when I'm eating and stuff like that. I leave a huge mess. And so Peter's like, you know, prepare everything. Like, just prepare everything before you start. Because I have a really, I don't know, I just want to get it done. I want to eat now. And so I just have like a sticky note saying prepare everything. I actually have plans to put a few others to, you know, work on new habits and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. These things can be very distracting, you know. Our devices can really separate us from the world, but technology is a double-edged sword. And if you are a deliberate user of technology, you can use it to your benefit. And so Sam's phone will go off every so often during the day, and we hear bing, and we'll both just sort of stop and take a nice deep breath in, and that's the iPhone that does that. And so sometimes I hear people be very critical of technology, and I say, you know, there are settings on your phone and there are choices that you can make. That's really, really cool. How about you, Luke? Do you have any way of reminding yourself to be aware of keeping things alive within you?
Yes, I have. Well, recently I've joined a group of self-development like that and things like that. And this week was the discipline week, and we learned different things there. And one of the things they taught us is to write 5 goals on when we go on the side there. Every day we write 5 goals that we want to attain in the day. So if I have some things to do, I put it in there, you know, so it reminds me, I can go there and remind me of what I decided to do for the day, at least that I want completed. And another thing, because of sometimes my medication, forgetting my medication, especially the one that's super all night. So I took the alarm on Windows in my computer. I have a desktop, and I've set at a certain time a bell will ring, you know, and like when I have to wake up, and then around 10 I have to take some eye drop, because if I take them too early with the other medical pills, there's a conflict with the blood pressure pill and one of my eye drops that tends to drop my pressure also, so I can take them together. So
yes,
doing that, I know at what time to take my pills, my regular drops, and that special drop there, I put it at noon, you know, so that way it seems to be better, you know.
Good, I like that. Yeah, more using technology. I really like that. You know, as much as I talk about technology, I'm like Heather. I like lists, and I like good old-fashioned books here. And I have all kinds of notebooks. I actually filled this one up, so I had to buy a new one. I write everything in my book. Every thought that seems interesting to me, anything that I want to remember to do, I write it in this book. And then at the end of the day, I'll go through my book. Or if I'm bored, I'll go through my book. If I'm traveling, I'll go and read it to sort of feed back to my mind those thoughts that I chose to remember. So I find having a notebook with me all the time and just writing, you know, even if you don't reread what you write, the act of writing, physically writing something down is tactile, and it helps to sort of ferment things in your mind. So even if I don't reread something, just having written it down, I know will be more than just having the passing thought. But there's a fun one that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I do that too with the little note. I've always carried notebooks, and I have like 100 of them that I've kept for 20 years, you know. I don't necessarily relook at them, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I look for something specific.
That's right. I find it so cool. You know,
20 years later, it would be so interesting to see what is that, you know.
On a side note, I actually have a notebook that I took sketches and notes the day of the Polytechnic massacre. I was in the next building selling jewelry, and I kept notes that day, and I look back on them, and it gives me the shivers to look at that. But I cherish that I still have that book with those notes.
Yeah,
that's very powerful. I really like that. Okay, so there is something else that I use for awareness. I've talked about this before. So I am incredibly, or I can be, if I allow myself to be, incredibly annoyed and impatient. Okay, so I feel very sort of annoyed with how people behave sometimes. Not in a bad way, just in a very sort of, I'm always consciously aware of how things can be better. And because they're not, you know, it's a curse of an entrepreneur to be continuously sort of bothered by something, because you always want to improve, you always want to fix. And so there's something that when people annoy me, I use the feeling of annoyance to remind me about what I want to do. So just like Sam's phone will ding and then she'll remember to breathe, me, when I feel annoyed, I will remember to breathe. And because I feel annoyed 10 times a day, or I can be, then it's a perfect reminder. Every time I feel annoyed, I go, but it's okay. People don't have to be the way I want them to be. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be the way I want it to be. And that helps me to remember to be aware, and to the point where I actually appreciate, just like the troll who came in here, I like to appreciate when I feel annoyed, when I feel bothered. And it's something that I can use to remind me. And so I'm using this sort of negative experience for my own benefit. You know, I'm using this thing that, of course, will occur. It's just who I am. It's who I choose to be. And I'm using it to my benefit. So there might be things that you do. The way I describe it is like this. I tie what I want to remember to a habit I already have, right? So maybe it's drinking water. Every time I drink water, I try to remember to be like a child. And sometimes I'll drink like a child and I make a wet mess all over my face. When I'm leaving the house, when I cross through a door, I try to remind myself, okay, focus my intention whenever I move through doors. And so whatever habit you have on a regular basis, whether it's driving to work, whether it's music you listen to, whether it's a person you talk to, tie that habit to something else. Tie that habit to the thing you want to remember, so that every time this thing happens, every time you brush your teeth in the morning or throughout the day, you're going to remember this, because you remember toothbrushing means loving my mother, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. So I find that's very powerful, tying what you want to remember to what you already do. And that to me is instead of reinventing the wheel, it's using what you have to a greater degree. Anything you guys want to add to the subject before we move on to the topic that will make us hungry?
Well, there was someone that wrote a book called, I think it was called Tiny Habits, and it was along the lines of that, like making these things you want to adopt become part of a routine, like brushing your teeth. But I don't know if he actually said that, but something about that, like tying one habit onto another.
Tiny habits. That's really cool. I checked it out. I remember I started in the shower. I would take 5 extra minutes in the shower to just be in the water, to just experience the water, because I always wanted to rush out of the house. I got to a point where, because I'm impatient, or I choose to be impatient, I would try to time it so that I could, every minute from the moment I woke up to when I got to work was efficient. I mean, I got to the point where I was sleeping with my shoes on. I'll tell you, it's pretty crazy. I know it's pretty nuts. I can't give you any more details than that, because then you go, Peter's actually pretty wacko. I mean, he's a crazy person. But I would even sleep with my shoes on because I wanted to be able to get out the door faster. And so giving myself 5 minutes in the shower was a very good way to slow down and to remind myself not to be impatient. It also encouraged me to sleep earlier so I can have more time to shower and all these domino effects. Look, you guys.
I'm curious, how many do you have? Like, how many of those do you think that you have? Those tiny habits that sort of remind you of something else. Like, I don't know if the toothbrush and mother is actually one of them, but yeah, I'm just curious.
I have a lot. I have a lot. Whether it's writing a book, whether it's music, I mean, everything in my environment is there on purpose, and it triggers my thoughts. That's the other thing we haven't really talked about much in our meetups. I don't. Everything in my environment I choose. And if I don't like it, Sam, you'll know this, I try and change it. I try to make it better. Whether it's the food I eat, whether it's the clothes I wear, I try to do it in a conscious, creative way, a deliberate way. So if there's something, if my place is too dirty and I don't like it, I will clean it. And if it's completely clean, I will find something else to clean about it. You know, I always want to improve my things. And so I have a multitude of things that I...
But I mean specifically, when you do this thing, like say you drink water, and it's like, that's one that I teach, is like drinking water in the morning and setting an intention for the day. I'm just curious, like how many of those you have.
Okay, so look, I told you about the book thing. I tell you about the eating thing. I do not like eating, and so I have to find a way to make that pleasurable. When I'm walking on the street, the steps that I take, when I step on cracks, like kids do, you know, step on the cracks or don't step on the cracks, I do that almost every single time I walk, and every single step I use the cracks to remind me to refocus. Or I'll walk on the edge of a sidewalk, not on the middle of the sidewalk, but on the edge, so that I have to balance myself when I walk, because I want to be conscious while I'm walking, and because I have to balance myself, I'm more aware. Whenever I'm listening to something, I rarely listen to just music on the street unless I'm in that mood, but I'm always listening to something that will teach me, that will educate me, that will keep me aware. So I'm listening to talks, I'm listening to speakers, I'm listening to documentaries, I'm listening to information, because I know that when I'm walking down the street and I'm getting information and I'm learning, I'm present, I'm aware. I make myself smile on a regular basis. So every time I see a mirror, I look myself in the eyes. I mean, I could go on and on about all the habits that I have, but I look at my life and I go, is there a part of my life where I'm not aware? Right? Am I going to sleep absent-mindedly? I used to fall asleep and not even remember I fell asleep. I just woke up and go, no, I want to be I want to be deliberate when I go to sleep. I want to be deliberate when I jump out of bed. I want to be deliberate with whatever I do. So I don't know if there's any nook and cranny that I don't have some habit for. Some people might call that obsessive compulsive, but I'm an enthusiast. I am a self-improvement enthusiast, and I will take that as far as I can take it.
So I would suppose a suggestion would be to start with 1 or 2, right? Like, and that's what I want to do. Like, I have a few of them, but this is something I've been thinking more and more of, is that I do want to tie it to specific things that I'm doing. And so I'm going to like I'm going to write a list of like, what are the things I want to pay attention to or be aware of, or the thoughts that I'm having, and choose the ones that like feel best to me and practice those. And I suppose it'll be like, what, 3 weeks before it becomes a habit?
That's right, 3 weeks and it becomes a habit. And if I had to suggest one thing, and this is the thing that almost every successful person throughout history does, is that they write some form of journal, some form of writing their thoughts down. Okay, I don't care if it's writing your thoughts down on paper, or you're doing it in song, or you're creating a painting, but some way of externalizing your thoughts as a form of introspection and reflection. At the end of the day, especially, let the last thing be that you're reflecting on what you did. That to me is the greatest habit. It's why, even though I love computers and technology, I walk around with this physical book and a physical pen. It is the most thing. In fact, what I'm going to be doing for my group motivational consultations is I'm going to have books. I'm going to tell people, hey, if you really want to start changing your life, you're going to have to start writing on a daily basis. You're going to have to start writing these things down. And so to me, that's the greatest habit. And I see you started it. And I think
I started a little while ago now, and it's definitely helpful. And it's something that, like, so somebody who wants to be aware of the things they like about themselves, say you're working on self-esteem, then in this journal you can write, what do I like about myself? What's good about me? What am I proud of today? And it brings all of that to your awareness. I have clients who are like, wow, I don't really think about that stuff. I don't think about what I like or what I'm proud of. And it just, like, to end the day like that, or to start the day like that, it's so powerful.
I completely agree.
I'm doing a business course. I'm doing a business course right now, and they talk about keeping a victory list. So it's really just keeping track of all your victories, big or small. Yeah. And writing them down, and just keeping track, because we forget.
Yeah,
that's right. That's very good. I like that victory list. Victory list, tiny habits, good things to remember. Human beings are visual creatures, sound and sight. There's a reason why the Egyptians had hieroglyphs. We pictures, writing things down, seeing something is a very powerful thing. But speaking about the ending of things, I know Sam has to run in like 1 minute, so I just want to ask you, what's for dinner? What did you eat in the last 7 days, or what are you about to eat tonight, if you haven't eaten yet, that you enjoyed? It doesn't have to be special, it just has to be something that you enjoyed. I had lemon cranberry loaf that our friend Kelly made for the event that we had. It was delicious. It turns out I love cranberries. I didn't know. I had no idea. I love cranberries. I like it better than chocolate. So that was really, really cool. Thank you so much, Kelly, for that. How about you guys?
Well, I went to Ottawa, and we went to a store called Farm Boy. It's a chain in Ottawa, and they have a big buffet of hot and cold things you can buy. And I bought samosas, and they make the most amazing tamarind sauce. So I bought a few jars and brought them back to give to my friends. It's so good.
That sounds good. Oh, man, I'm so hungry right now. How about you, Luke? Just remember you're on mute.
Oh.
Luke is on mute. We want to hear.
Okay. I was trying to unmute, but it was taking time, so.
I get it.
Okay, so today, well, I ate some rice again from my neighbor, so it's.
Hey, I like that neighborly rice. That's pretty good. I think that's really cool. Very quickly, Sam, you want to know what's on their calendar? Do you got to run?
Hey, I ate something good too.
I'm sorry.
So this week yesterday I made myself vegetarian spring rolls for the first time. I had never done that with the rice, what is it called?
Wrapper?
Rice wraps? I don't know. You soak them in water, and you put all sorts of different vegetables and avocado and that. And I made myself a yummy peanut sauce for it. It was delicious. So yeah, I love that. I think that'll be a part of my regular thing now.
Yeah,
I can learn how to wrap them very well, because they were a little It'll
All right, I'll do the calendar thing, so I'll let you go, Sam. I just want to let you know for the
No, I have a minute or two. I have a session, but I'm good.
Okay, pull up your calendar. I forgot to do the segment, What a Great Idea, where I point you towards a product, a service, an idea that is deserving of your attention, because whatever we give our attention to becomes a greater part of our experience. This week's What a Great Idea is actually a wonderful show called The OA. You'll see the picture right here. I don't want to tell you anything about it, except if you have a heart in your chest and you want to feel it beating to something very sentimental, check out The OA. It's a show. It's on the Netflix. You can watch it there. If you don't have a Netflix account, it's 2017, man. You gotta get a Netflix account. I mean, I just don't get it. Sam and I used to spend $12 on one DVD that we were late 3 days in returning. So Netflix is really where you need to get it. DOA, a beautiful, beautiful thing. You gotta.
All right.
No. Sam, what's on the calendar?
So this is with Self-Discovery Montreal. Tomorrow I have a group life coaching all about putting yourself first. So the benefits of choosing to take care of yourself before other people. It's going to be wonderful. And then Saturday I'm doing my vision board workshop. So we're going to be creating, we're going to be artsy. This is going to be at Le Milieu on Saturday at 1 p.m. There are still a few tickets, so feel free to take a look at that. You can go to samanthabarley.com and click on events or meetup and Self-Discovery Montreal.
Excellent. That's really wonderful. I have a most practical and efficient way to change your life. That's a Levitate session. That's February 2nd. So there's still some time to sign up for that one. You can find all this information at thelawofattraction.ca and click on calendar. You can find out more about Samantha at samanthabarley.com, and you can check out her meetup at Self-Discovery Montreal on meetup.com. You guys are wonderful. Heather, Luke, Sam, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We did it.
Yay! Thanks, everybody. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's it. So look, I want to let everybody know, tune in next week for another exciting episode of The Appreciationist. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, you too.